This video is sponsored by MakeDo. Hey, what's up? Sean here. Today we're building a DIY cardboard 2-player pinball machine. Stick around if you want to know how I built the multi-flipper mechanism, as well as the end for some 1v1 gameplay. Alright, so let's get building. First thing I had to make was the flippers. So to do that, I cut out all the parts first, then assembled them all together at once, just so I could show you exactly what each piece does. Alright, so let's turn over the playfield to the underside because we need to work on the hidden mechanism that is inside the pinball machine. For starters, these two pieces here are mainly there to help guide the flipper buttons to push straight, kind of like this, as you can see. Now before I glued in the flippers, I just kind of lightly marked out with a pencil what angle I wanted them to be at, and that way when I go to glue the underside of the flipper, I can just kind of match it all up and make sure everything is symmetrical. Okay, so now it's time to work on the upper flippers. So the mechanism for this is actually a lot simpler than you might think. Basically how it works is the motion from the bottom flippers just get transferred up to the top flippers, and the way that happens is just by using these two additional pieces here. And there we go. Now you can kind of see it all coming together. Now basically all we got to do is just slap some rubber bands on there, and that's kind of all there is to it. Of course, this is a 2-player pinball machine, so I did have to make 2 of these, and once I did that, I just started painting it. Now, at the time of painting this, I actually didn't really have a theme in mind. I just started painting it, so it wasn't until later that I decided on a theme, and I just ended up having to repaint some of the blue parts, but it wasn't too bad overall. I used these 2 boxes as my base, and doing this is just way easier than just making everything from scratch, and it just makes it a whole lot easier. Alright, so now it's time to work on some of the ramps and targets for the pinball machine, which brings me to today's video sponsor, MakeDo. MakeDo is a company that makes all kinds of parts and pieces and accessories specifically made for cardboard crafting. Now, they were actually kind enough to send me a sample of their products, so these here are some plastic screws which you can use to fasten cardboard. Now, obviously you don't need these products to make stuff out of cardboard, but the real selling point for MakeDo, I think, is that it's certainly ideal for kids, especially for youth summer camps, classrooms, workshops, and even just for the kids at home. I mean, you know, MakeDo is great if you're an educator of some kind. They are easy, fun, and safe to use, but that's not all they are, because in my case, I mean, I did go ahead and incorporate some MakeDo parts in this build, as you can see here, but normally I'm okay just, you know, using a regular hot glue gun to fasten cardboard. The real game changer for me, though, is that these pieces are reusable. They can easily be disassembled, so what that means for me is that when I'm prototyping, I'm now going to be saving a lot of hot glue sticks. You know, for those of you who watch my videos, really what you only see is the final product, but what you don't see is all the behind the scenes stuff, prototyping, brainstorming, fiddling around with cardboard to get my ideas to work. And in the process of doing so, quite frankly, I waste a lot of hot glue sticks, so these here are going to be really practical for me in the long run. So if you're interested in MakeDo, I will leave a link in the description below to their website. So just want to say a big thank you to MakeDo for supporting the channel. And yeah, I had a lot of fun using these parts for this build, and I will definitely continue to use them for other projects as well. Alright guys, so here is the final product. Now, in case you couldn't already tell, this is not a detailed tutorial, so instead of tediously showing you how I made everything, I'm just going to talk about it and show you what everything does, because I just think that's way more entertaining. And yeah, so this entire game is themed around the MCU, and since there are so many characters in the MCU, I only included the original 6 Avengers, plus Nick Fury, plus all the members of the Guardians of the Galaxy that are still alive, plus any other characters who have had their own movie. Alright, so with that out of the way, let me just give you a demo of everything. So starting with the plunger, pretty straightforward there, nothing too fancy. It's not very pretty, but it gets the job done. And now for the targets. So this is the first one I want to show you here, which has kind of like a swivel piece on it. And what that does is it lets you take 2 different paths depending on the positioning of that swivel piece. So basically the first time you get it up there, it'll just come right back to you. The second time it'll take this alternate path which leads directly to the other side. Next one I want to show you is Groot's arm. So if you look a little closely, you can see it's kind of supposed to be like an extension of his arm. But basically how this one works, it comes up and around and then it goes down that gold rail there. And watch closely, this one's a little bit trickier to see. So bam, goes up that ramp and then comes down that gold rail back there. Alright, and the next ramp, this black ramp right here, this one's super straightforward. All it does is it just leads directly to the other side, and yeah, you just shoot it up that ramp and then it falls down the other end. On this raised platform here we have Vormir, and on this I decided to add a ball lock, and that extra ball there is kind of supposed to act as an incentive to get people to want to hit that, because this one, as you can see, is a little bit trickier to get, and so you know, if I hadn't added that extra ball there, then really you'd probably just want to go for the easier targets over and over again. But with this one, you know, if you do manage to actually get it up there, then you're actually rewarded for it. So that's kind of the whole idea with this ramp. Also, one thing worth mentioning is if you do get it up the second floor but you kind of miss it or you don't hit it in time, then the ball will just drain back down. Alright, so now it's time to show you the other side of the pinball machine, and let me know down in the comments below which side you prefer aesthetically. And yeah, so let me give you a brief overview of this whole thing now, starting with the plunger. Same deal as the other side, nothing special there, pretty straightforward. And as for the ramps, first order of business is this spiky looking thing here, and this is kind of supposed to be the equivalent of the red ramp on the other side that I showed you. Both of them kind of extend past the pinball machine walls. Moving on to this white ramp over here, this one is kind of supposed to be the equivalent of the Groot ramp that I showed you on the other side. Both of them are kind of similar to each other, as you might be able to see there. As for this gold one right here, this one is super simple. It's just connected to the black ramp that I showed you on the other side. So those 2 ramps, kind of the equivalent of each other as well. And last but not least, we have this kind of cone target right here. So what you do is, same as the other side, you shoot it around there and then get it on that second platform, and then both marbles will fall into the cone. Hey, so before we get into some 1v1 gameplay, I just want to say real quick that if you're enjoying this video, can you please hit the like button down below? And also, if this is your first time here, I invite you to subscribe, and that way you'll be updated with all my newest posts and projects and things like that. So definitely consider subscribing if you are interested in seeing more of this kind of content. But with that being said, let's get on with the gameplay.